This is Cat Brogan, and it's a piece called The Auction, which is a monologue in the character of the housekeeper for Ecclesville's estate, Fintona, in 1962. It's based on a true story.
All come about the auction, have you?
Aye.
Aye, you have, haven't you, rightly? I know your type, so I would. Yous are all, well, you'll not be disappointed now. For I tell you, Mr. Lecky left some pile of stuff. And I should know, for I've been dusting it for the guts of 50 years. And sure, poor Lecky, he had 80 years to accumulate it. Not to mention all the generations that came before him. And now, yous are all here, from London to America, to Joseph Gardy there from down the road in Tatray, all looking a piece of the Anglo-Irish ascendancy. Want knowing a wee bit of the big house. And by this time tomorrow, dusting the Louis the 16th tables and Florentine picture frames will be somebody else's problem. And there'll be no law of the matter. And that'll be that. But to be fair to Lecky, he only went by Mister. He never had a title. I tell you, I've had my work cut out for me these last couple of months, redding the place up since the funeral. Imagine dying on Remembrance Day. 11th of November 1961, the boy who was left behind in the Great War. But I guess you only had to take one look at our Lecky and know the lads wouldn't have accepted him the way he was. He still won medals, mind you, but for all the money he raised for the Red Cross, putting on plays. God knows about all that sort of killing. But sure, at least the money from the auction is going to them two charities, looking after the wains of actors and musicians. Because God knows you wouldn't want to be supporting children on what an artist makes. Oh no. Not that Lecky ever had to worry about money. It's from them Lecky Road boys. You know how Lecky Road, them Derry ones would know all about it. And he also never had to worry about descendants. But that was typical of Lecky. Even seeing his death as a way to fundraise for the less fortunate. But most of yous probably aren't buying. Tire kickers, a lot of you. I know the Leckies. These are just here to gawk at this pink bedroom or his flared jackets. You should rip the multi-directional shower heads off the wall, give him half a chance. Imagine having plumbing like that in the 30s. God's sakes, me doing it out the back. I miss Lecky though, the wee dote. In private, I called him Tibby, and he called me Dorian. He says it was an account of some writer who had a book about some pretty boy who had a picture in the attic because he wanted to stay young forever. Could see that in Tibby though. Even at 80, he was his playful self, jumping and leaping about like a wee bird. He always had a flair for the theatrical. Down in Dublin at the Abbey, there's a picture of him in the paper in the 1910s, you know, dressed up as a woman. God says. He says it was a thing in the theatre. on account of them not letting women in the past. Mr. Raymond Browne Lecky's concerts were an institution in Omagh. Before the Great War spoiled it all, and independence and the partition and all that, everybody, from the Duke of Abercorn to the carriage driver, would be there, giving Lecky the most rousing rounds of applause and demanding encores till well past 11 p.m. at night. Shocking all together, no fires late in the morning, anyway, you know that right there with you. And even his mother was into the arts and culture stuff as well, putting on shows too, in their fancy flat in London, in Kensington. And she'd been writing the great and the good to see the variety shows that Tibby would put on. She never seemed to be ashamed of him, or the way he was. She was proud of her son. Oh no, God, I better take a wee seat here, I'll take a wee cup of tea, aye, right? Jesus, I know, been at it a while, so I have. Oh, my wee trolley, isn't it gorgeous? A wee cup of tea for myself. Oh no, oh Lord. And I wonder what will become of the house. Once used, lot of stripped it of all the stuff. Maybe something to do with the horses. He was a great man for the horses, just like his mother. He's left it to the government. He hoped that they'd do something good with it, but I've not the same faith in the council. Not after they tore down Seskinore, the Clintocks across the way. Lucky for me, I'm old enough to retire now. I don't know what there'd be for me round Fintona. But he left me a tidy sum, and he did me right my whole life. Did everybody right in Fintona? They still laughed at him, mind you. He, she, and it, they'd call him, walking around. The mother was the he. The father was the she. And Tibby was the it. He was some sight, mind you. The painted nails, and the long hair, and the jackets all flared out like a Irish dancing dress. And he'd be running round the roads in that two-tone Aston Martin, and the driver all dressed up in the wee uniform and the wee hat and a phone in the car in the 50s. Do you believe it? Oh dear. He got the worst of it from his own kind, mind you. I found a letter when I was reading up from some snobby relative complaining to his mother about his get-up in the Church of Ireland. Him only 15 and rings on every finger. He was the last of them round here. Round this part of Tyrone. His mother grew up here and his father across the way at Augustine Castle and 5 Mile Town. I think he took some satisfaction in knowing he was the end of the line. That stops with him. And now the gates of Ecclesville estate will be thrown open for all of Fintona. Oh, now, Tibby saw everybody go. And then died just 2 days after Edward. Edward was a musician too, and they'd be putting on shows in the house until well into their 70s and raising money for the golf club or the British Legion or the Winter Coal Fund, and some pile of work for me anyway, I can tell you. Oh no. Eddie was married to a woman in Enniskillen, but they never lived together. She had 4 children before they were married. And they tied the knot just before Edward got shipped out in the Great War. I reckon he just wanted to get his father off his back and put a name on the birth certificate for them Waynes. And sure, at least the poor mother would get the pension if it didn't work out for our Eddie in the war. He was an orderly at the T&F Asylum for 40 years. And he came to Ecclesville to nurse Joel when Joel was on his way out. Oh, Joel. Him and Tilly, they were great together. They met in 1837 at one of them cabaret shows in London. I can tell you it was some adjustment for a Jewish man from Golders Green to find himself in Fintona. Living with an aristocrat. He couldn't understand us locals anyway. And when he passed on, 1953, he was 10 years older than Tippy, so he was. And Tippy buried him in the family plot with a big cross. And it says, in sacred memory of Joel Henry Hart, erected by Raymond, Browne, Lecky, Ecclesville, for all the village to see. And I tell you, it warms my heart to think of them two men lying together for eternity. For you never seen two people who loved each other more. Right, so there's the hammer now. Don't forget it's for them two charities. Get your bids in.